The Lakers' next move has been revealed as a brand new report from Brian Windhorst's drop revealing Rob Pelinka's trade plans ahead of the deadline. That is inching closer and closer and is a bit over 24 hours away. And who this target is has Lakers fans fired up. So to break that down and discuss what this means going forward, as well as break down some major Lakers updates ahead of the deadline. But before we get into that, folks, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the 83% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. And obviously, the Lakers trade deadline is inching closer and closer now. I mean, the NBA trade deadline in general is inching closer and closer, a bit over 24 hours away. And the Lakers still, as of the time of recording, do not have a starting center aside from, I guess, Jackson Hayes, if you want to consider him a starting center. And the Lakers are coming off a big win yesterday against the Clippers, but moves need to be made. Luka's return to the NBA action and to the Lakers is going to be, or I guess his debut for the Lakers is going to be on Saturday, but Brian Windhorst has dropped a new report as well as Sam Amick revealing some interesting targets. So we're going to start with the Nicoa Vucic report here. Or this is from Mike Scotto, sorry, not Sam Amick. We have a couple from him though later. The Lakers are showing interest in Nicoa Vucic. The Bulls have held out hope for a first-round pick for Vucevic, but may have to settle for multiple second-round picks if they move him ahead of the deadline in the eyes of NBA executives who spoke with Hoops Hype. So this is very interesting. Now, the Lakers, obviously, they do need a center. And when you're talking about what Rob Pelinka said in his press conference just yesterday about the type of player that they're looking for, the type of asset that they want to get in a trade where they're giving up picks, they were looking for a guy not like Nicola Vucic whatsoever. I mean, we're talking about a versatile center, a center who can be a pick and roll defender, who can pick and roll in general, be athletic, and all these different things. And when you think about Nicola Vucic, he is pretty much the polar opposite of that. He's not a good defender. He's not great in the pick and roll, both offensively. He's fine offensively, pick and pop. Defensively, he's not. However, he is an extremely good offensive player. Now, when you're thinking about a starting lineup involving Luka, involving LeBron, and then Nicola Vucic, it raises some eyebrows because things now could get extremely interesting if they're able to do this, even though it's very different than what Rob Pelinka initially said. But for them to be, going out and giving offers for players like Nicola Vucic, it goes to show that if you can get him for second-round picks specifically, because obviously a first-round pick for Nicola Vucic, I don't think the Lakers give up their remaining first-round pick in 2031 in order to get Nicola Vucic. I just don't think that's something that the Lakers want to do, and I don't think it's something Rob Pelinka is going to do. But when you think about it, Vucevic could, if they have no other option, is a very interesting fit here. And again, it'd be Luka, Reaves, assuming you have Hachimura or a DFS, LeBron, and then, of course, at the 5, you would have Nicola Vucic. It would shape up the starting lineup. It would give you some offensive firepower, but what it wouldn't do is help your defensive concerns at all. And then unless you go out and get a guy like Day'Ron Sharpe to play the backup center spot, or maybe you move Nicola Vucic to the bench, which is way less likely, things would be interesting there. But we have some other reports as well, and this was from Brian Windhorst. He said this shook up a lot of people and says a series of big moves could be coming for the Lakers after Luka Doncic. So you think about it here, this is now the second time that Brian Windhorst has come out and said that the Lakers are going to be making big moves. Following the initial trade with Luka, he said big moves are coming, and then a new report dropped from him here saying a series of big moves could be coming. And again, Rob Pelinka came out and basically said that a big move is on the table specifically for a center, but that other teams have to be willing to give up some of their very good centers in order for the Lakers that, of course, trade. You need two teams to trade ultimately. And when you're talking about starting caliber centers, or as Rob Pelinka called it, a championship caliber center, is Nicola Vucic that? He is offensively, however, defensively, and for what this team needs, that's when the debate starts to be brought up. But if you can have a guy like Day'Ron Sharpe, or even, defensive-minded center that you can get for cheap, that you can have in the backup spot, you have Nicola Vucic in the starting lineup, and move Dorian Finney-Smith to the 4, LeBron at the 3, Reaves at the 2, and Luka at the 1. Your defense isn't completely terrible, albeit Luka and LeBron at this point of his career aren't necessarily good defenders, even though Luka has said he's been a better defender this year by all accounts, but he hasn't been a good defender. And that's not something that you can expect from Luka Doncic, even as he continues to develop, especially with the Lakers. So Nicola Vucic is going to be an extremely interesting player. And looking at some of his stats here, he is 34 years old. This season, he's averaging 19 points a game, shooting great from the three-point line. And again, he's shooting 40% from 3. Like, he would stretch the floor. He'd give you some similar offensive abilities to Anthony Davis, albeit not quite as good, but defensively, not even close. He is a poor defender, especially at the 5 spot. So if they do trade for Vooch, you'd have to assume that they have other things planned. But given the fact that Rob Pelinka came out and said they want a versatile center, I think in any world where they trade for Nicola Vucic, it would be because no other team is willing to give up one of those championship caliber athletic centers, which at this case, Walker Kessler, Miles Turner would fit well. Like, if you're going to go out and trade for a guy like Vucevic, you'd obviously much prefer Miles Turner, a way better defender, provides similar things offensively, at least from the three-point line and the stretch big aspect of it. However, it's been pretty clear that A, those guys aren't available, and B, according to this report, Vucevic may be able to be gotten for a second-round pick or multiple second-round picks. And we know the Lakers gave up a lot of their seconds in the trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. So what they have remaining of their second-round picks, of course, is interesting here. And this is also a new report that dropped as well, I believe it's from Anthony Irwin. 65% chance that LA gets a needle mover at center in the coming days. LA is more okay with moving the pick since they have Luka, but it's not as valuable. Irwin said he'll be surprised if they keep the first-round pick. So it seems like a first-round pick not only is on the table to be traded, but is extremely likely to be traded between now and tomorrow at the deadline in the afternoon. So I don't think they give up a first for Vucevic. I can only see them doing it if no other player is available. They get extremely desperate and they say, hey, we're going to go ahead. We need to get a center, because at this point, they don't really have any other option right now besides, of course, they have, Jackson Hayes, who's been playing okay, and maybe got himself and earned himself into a backup center spot, but they still desperately need a starting center. And going over some updates some more, one question is tough. Is Kessler available? Is Ainge mad they did this move behind his back? Robert Williams from Portland. LA likes him, but he's not healthy, which is a concern. Turner might not be a possibility anymore. And his guess is that LA will put their first-round pick, and if anyone wants it for a center, they'll take it. And I'm assuming this is, of course, a center that Rob Pelinka is looking for, because you have to assume the Chicago Bulls would be willing to give up Nicoa Vucic for that 2031 first-round pick from the Lakers, even though now that they have Luka Doncic, that pick becomes less valuable because the Lakers should be a contender for the next decade. And Luka kind of puts your floor as a 500 team here. And again, the report is like LeBron wants to maximize his chance of a championship. Irwin was told that he wants to win a championship in LA with Bronny. He's taking a $30 to $40 million contract this offseason. Is not a question. He wants LA to build a good roster. He will consider taking a number that many people might be surprised with, which we'll break down in a future video as well. But things are getting very, very interesting. And again, you think back to the trade when the details came out that Rob Pelinka held out in order to keep that 2031 first round pick because of the fact that the leverage that Rob Pelinka was able to gain over Nico Harrison. And now the hope is that they can use that first round pick in 2031 to go ahead and flip it into a center that they desperately need. Now, whether they re-engage with Brooklyn Nets about Day'Ron Sharpe, Nick Claxton, or they move in a completely different direction and go all-out offense, which would be much different than what Rob Pelinka was claiming and clamoring that he was going to be looking for ahead of the deadline. That's the big question, but we're going to have a resolution very soon because the deadline is inching closer and closer. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. Let me know down below, would you want a trade for a guy like Nikola Vucevic, or would you prefer someone like Day'Ron Sharpe or, of course, Nick Claxton, who would cost a bit more? My prediction is that they land Nick Claxton for the first round pick, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens, what Rob Pelinka has up his sleeve. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.